You know what nobody tells you? The people who control every room they walk into rarely raise their voice. They don't argue, they don't threaten, they don't even look like they're trying. And that's exactly why they win. Most people think power is loud. They think winning means dominating conversations, proving you're right, making others submit. That's amateur hour. That's what weak people do when they're desperate to feel strong. Real control, it's invisible. It operates behind the scenes. It moves pieces on the board while everyone else is still figuring out they're in a game. If you've ever felt like you're constantly defending yourself, explaining your choices, or fighting battles you didn't start, this isn't a coincidence. Someone's been playing you, and they've been winning because you didn't even know you were competing, but that ends today. Because I'm about to show you how the most dangerous minds operate, how they win without conflict, how they control outcomes without anyone noticing, how they turn every interaction into a strategic advantage while maintaining a smile. This isn't about manipulation for the sake of cruelty. This is about protection, about understanding the game before someone plays it on you, about becoming the person who can't be outmaneuvered, outsmarted, or overwhelmed. Let's start with a simple truth. Every conversation is a negotiation. Every interaction is a test. Every relationship contains a hidden structure of influence. Most people stumble through life completely unaware of this. They react emotionally. They expose their hand. They give away their leverage without realizing what they've lost. But you're about to become different. The first rule, control through questions, not answers. Here's what most people do wrong. When someone challenges them, they immediately defend. When someone questions their decision, they explain in detail. When someone disagrees, they argue their position harder. This is the fastest way to lose control of any conversation. Why? Because the person asking questions holds the frame. The person defending is already operating on someone else's terms. You're fighting a battle in territory they chose. Smart players flip this completely. They respond to questions with questions. They redirect. They create conversational loops that send people back to their own assumptions. Someone says, "Why did you make that choice?" Most people launch into justification, the strategic response. What makes you think that choice needs defending? Or what would you have done differently? See the difference? You've just put them on defense without escalating. You didn't argue, you didn't justify, you simply refused to accept the frame they tried to force on you. Machiavelli once observed that people reveal more about themselves through their questions than through their answers. When you control the questions, you control what gets revealed and what doesn't. This works because of a psychological principle most people never learn. Whoever is explaining is losing. The moment you start justifying yourself to someone who hasn't earned that explanation, you've handed them authority over you. Stop explaining. Start redirecting. Watch what happens. People who are ready to challenge you suddenly find themselves answering their own questions. The power dynamic shifts without a single aggressive word being spoken. The second rule: silence is a weapon, not a weakness. Most people are terrified of silence. Conversation pauses for 3 seconds and they panic. They fill the void with words, explanations, justifications, small talk. Anything to make the discomfort stop. This fear is your advantage. When you master silence, when you can sit in uncomfortable pauses without flinching, you gain a supernatural level of control. Because while you're calm, everyone else is scrambling. Here's how it works in practice. Someone says something provocative, something designed to get a reaction. Most people react immediately, either defending themselves or attacking back. You do nothing, you pause, you look at them thoughtfully. You let the silence stretch just long enough to become noticeable. Then, when you finally speak, your words carry 10 times the weight because they were worth waiting for. Silence creates pressure. It makes people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people talk. They fill gaps, they reveal things they didn't intend to reveal. They negotiate against themselves, trying to break the tension. All while you've said nothing. This isn't being rude, this isn't being cold, this is being disciplined. This is understanding that your words are currency, and the more carefully you spend them, the more valuable they become. Think about the most intimidating people you've encountered. Were they constantly talking, or did they speak rarely, but when they did, everyone listened? Silence also prevents you from saying things you'll regret. How many people have destroyed relationships, opportunities, or reputations because they couldn't keep quiet for 30 seconds? How many arguments could have been avoided if one person had just refused to take the bait? The silent person never has this problem. They observe, they calculate, they respond only when responding serves them. Let others fill the air with noise. You'll fill the room with presence. The third rule, agreement, disarms, resistance escalates. Here's a counterintuitive truth. Sometimes the fastest way to win is to stop fighting. When someone attacks your position, argues against your idea, or challenges your authority, your instinct is to push back harder, to defend, to prove them wrong. This is exactly what they expect, and when you give people what they expect, they know how to handle you. Do the opposite, agree with them, but agree strategically. Someone says your approach won't work. You respond, you might be right. What specifically concerns you about it? Notice what just happened. You didn't surrender your position. You didn't admit defeat. You simply refused to fight on their terms. And by agreeing with the possibility they could be right, you've removed their ammunition. There's nothing to argue against. This technique is called tactical agreement. You're not actually conceding, you're creating the appearance of openness while maintaining complete control of the outcome. It works because people are wired for conflict. When you give them conflict, they engage. When you remove the conflict, they don't know what to do. Their attack bounces off like water off stone. That's a terrible idea. It might be. Help me understand why you think so. You're making a mistake. I appreciate your concern. What would you do instead? See the pattern? You're validating their right to have an opinion while simultaneously redirecting the conversation in a direction you control. They feel heard, they feel respected, and they have no idea you just completely neutralize their challenge. This strategy becomes especially powerful with people who thrive on conflict. When you refuse to give them the fight they want, they lose their primary tool. Some will escalate, which exposes them. Others will back down, which proves they were never as committed to their position as they appeared. Either way, you win, and you did it without raising your voice or showing aggression. The fourth rule, let others think they won. Pride is expensive. The need to be seen as right costs more than most people ever realize. They sacrifice relationships, opportunities, and long-term advantage for the temporary satisfaction of proving they were correct. This is the amateur's mistake. The professional understands something deeper. Winning the argument and achieving the outcome are two different things, and only one of them matters. Sometimes the smartest move is to let someone think they convinced you. Let them believe their idea was the one that changed your mind. Let them take credit for a decision you were already planning to make. Why would you do this? Because people support what they create. When someone believes an idea was theirs, they'll defend it, promote it, and work to make it succeed. When they know the idea came from you, they'll resist, criticize, or subtly sabotage it just to protect their ego. This is strategic submission. You give up the appearance of control to gain actual control. A manager tells you to do something you were already planning to do. Most people say, I know, I was already doing that. This creates unnecessary friction. The strategic response? Good idea. I'll implement that right away. Same outcome. Zero conflict. And you just made someone feel competent and listened to, which makes them more likely to support you in future situations. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. He wrote that the wise ruler makes others believe they are making the decisions while subtly guiding every outcome. The fool announces his control and creates enemies. The master hides his influence and creates allies. People will work harder to defend an idea they think is theirs than they ever would to execute your direct command. So stop commanding, start suggesting. Frame your ideas as questions. Plant seeds and let others think they grew the garden. When the project succeeds, let them have the credit publicly. You know what you built. You know who really made the decisions. That private knowledge is worth more than any public recognition, because it means you can do it again, and again, and again. The person obsessed with being seen as right builds a reputation. The person focused on achieving outcomes builds an empire. The fifth rule, your calm destroys their chaos. Energy is contagious. When someone brings anger, frustration, or chaos into a conversation, the natural human response is to match that energy. They yell, you yell back. They panic, you get anxious. They attack, you defend. This reaction is exactly what emotional manipulators count on. Because once you're emotional, you're controllable. Your decisions become reactive. Your judgment gets clouded. You say things you don't mean and do things you'll regret. The person who stays calm wins every single time. Not calm in a fake, performative way. Not the kind of forced composure that's obviously covering rage. Real calm. The kind that comes from genuine, emotional discipline and understanding that their chaos can only affect you if you allow it. Someone raises their voice at you. Your natural impulse is to raise yours back. Don't. Lower your volume instead. Speak more quietly. Make them work to hear you. Watch what happens. Either they calm down to match your energy, or they escalate so much that they look unhinged while you look reasonable. Either outcome favors you. This works because of a simple psychological reality. The calm person in any conflict appears stronger. They seem in control. They look like they have options and aren't desperate. The person losing their composure looks weak, regardless of what they're saying. Your calm also forces others to regulate their own emotions. When you refuse to engage with someone's chaos, they have two choices: match your calm or spiral alone. Most will eventually calm down because humans naturally mirror the emotional state of the people they're with. But here's the real power. When you can stay composed while others fall apart, you gain access to information they're hiding. Emotional people leak. They say things they shouldn't say. They reveal weaknesses they meant to protect. They show you exactly how to handle them in the future, all because you simply refused to match their energy. This doesn't mean being emotionless. It means choosing when and how you express emotion strategically, not reflexively. Anger can be useful, fear can be appropriate, but they should be tools you use consciously, not reactions that control you. The person who masters their emotional state becomes unpredictable to everyone else. They can't be manipulated through anger, guilt, fear, or excitement because those triggers simply don't work anymore. That's not just winning the mental game, that's ending it before anyone realizes it started. Here's what you need to understand. These aren't tricks. These aren't temporary tactics you use when convenient and abandoned when life gets comfortable. These are fundamental shifts in how you operate. Most people go through life in reaction mode. Someone pushes, they push back. Someone pulls, they resist. Someone attacks, they defend. They're playing checkers while convinced they're playing chess. But once you see the actual structure underneath every interaction, once you understand that every conversation contains hidden battles for frame, authority, and influence, you can't go back to naive participation. You become someone different, someone who doesn't need to announce their power because it's already obvious, someone who doesn't argue because they've already shaped the outcome before the discussion started, someone who doesn't get rattled because they've seen every manipulation attempt before it lands. The people who control outcomes don't look like they're controlling anything. They ask thoughtful questions. They use strategic silence. They agree when agreement disarms. They let others claim victories that don't matter. They stay calm while chaos swirls, and they win consistently, quietly, completely. Most people will watch this video and feel powerful for about 20 minutes. Then they'll go back to their old patterns. They'll defend when they should redirect. They'll explain when they should question. They'll react when they should observe. Don't be them. Because here's the final truth. The mental game never stops. Every interaction you have for the rest of your life contains these dynamics. The only question is whether you'll be aware of them or not, whether you'll be the one playing or the one being played. Your coworker, who always seems to get their way without conflict. They know these principles. Your friend who never looks stressed despite handling more than everyone else. They understand this game. That person in your life who somehow always ends up in control without anyone resenting them. They've mastered what you just learned, that the difference between you and them just became a lot smaller. What you do with that knowledge is up to you. So when someone tries to put you on defense tomorrow, will you defend, or will you ask a question that sends them explaining themselves instead? When someone brings chaos to your calm, will you match their energy, or will you let your composure expose their lack of control? When someone demands you prove yourself, will you scramble for justification, or will you let silence do the work your words never could? The mental game is already happening. The only question left is whether you'll play to win or keep pretending the game doesn't exist.